A yeoman is a person who owns their own farm. It's also an app you can get for iOS that will help you score your game. This card is insurance against negative points. Or is it? The Yeoman Farmer. With the Yeoman Farmer, you only lose points for unused spaces or being cards. In other words, you don't lose points if, for example, you don't have a certain type of animal, or you don't have a certain type of crop, or you haven't built at least one pasture, that kind of thing. You're basically covered for those circumstances. In previous seasons, I mostly concentrated on the 1+ occupations and the minor improvements, and that was mainly because I'd played a lot of 2-player games with Farmers of the Moor and with the card expansions. Hadn't played a lot of 3 or 4-player games. I've really been concentrating on the 3-player game, and so this is why this series is really looking at the 3+ occupations for the first time. This card could be seen, as I said in the introduction, as insurance against negative points, but it really does change the way the game is scored. So you could look at this as an opportunity to play the game in a different way. In the farm, I find with 2 players it's much easier to have at least some of everything. With 3 players, it's quite likely that you're going to miss out on at least something. You may miss out on the opportunity to build fences. You probably will maybe have at least one animal that you're missing out on. I find that that's almost the case, that there's one animal that I've missed out somewhere along the line. So you could look at this as just covering yourself for those negative points, or you could completely change the way you play and say, well, I'm just going to grow sheep and I'm going to build out the improvements that give me bonuses for sheep. Or I could just do a baked bread strategy or a vegetable strategy and really neglect other parts of that game. Obviously you want to try and use out all your space, but it's not necessarily just about covering yourself. You could see it as playing the game in a completely different way.
Proudly sponsored by Yeoman. Available in the App Store now.
I suspect that experienced players are probably going to shun that card, probably thinking that, well, it's a bit of a wussy way to play. Other things are going to give you bigger benefits, and I suspect that newer players are going to flock to that card and say, well, that's kind of my protection against maybe my inability to get everything out. I think perhaps that is a bit unfortunate, because it could potentially be a way of looking at the game with completely fresh eyes. On the other hand, keeping it up your sleeve, I played this recently in an online game. I ended up playing this and the Lord of the Manor. Those are the 2 cards that really do change the point structure. I've got options for both of those in my app, although Yeoman Farmer really is more of a fundamental change to the way the scoring happens. I won the game by 4 points. It was 2 points for the Yeoman Farmer, 3 for the Lord of the Manor, so between those, that was basically enough to push me over the line. So, you know, 2 points is 2 points. It might not seem like a big deal. In other words, I had almost everything, but there were just a couple of things I was missing out on. Basically, have a look out for that the next time you play, because not only is it a handy thing to have up your sleeve to cover yourself, but it could potentially provide you with a completely different strategy, a completely different way of looking at the game. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Is that just a wuss's way out, or is this genuinely an interesting card? Maybe think about it a little bit differently the next time you see that one come out in a draw. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Hey, check out my collection. I would love to have this in a solo game. This is a 3+ card, so obviously it would be very unbalanced in a solo game or even in a 2-player game. So this is one of those ones that's clearly designed to balance up a 3-player game.
Proudly sponsored by Yeoman. Available in the App Store now.